Welcome to Living Xtreme Hospitality. I'm Michael Brown, your host, and if you're passionate about hospitality, you're in the right place. With over 46 years of industry experience, my mission is simple: elevate hospitality. In this podcast, we'll explore the world of hospitality with industry experts, from organizational tools to personal anecdotes. We'll uncover the secrets of extreme hospitality, but it's not just about us. We want to hear from you. Your input shapes our discussions, fostering a community dedicated to extreme hospitality. Join the conversation and let's make each episode a step towards hospitality excellence. Living Xtreme Hospitality. Taste the difference. Hello again, friends, and welcome back to Living Xtreme Hospitality. The name of our podcast today is called The Consequences When You Don't. Basically meaning when you don't live extreme hospitality. And we have a guest today. Her name is Monica Riley, known as Mountain Moving Monica. And she is a dedicated advocate for small business and economic growth. As a native Texan, Monica has deep roots in her community. She is a proud wife and mother of 7 beautiful girls. She embodies family values and community spirit. With a background in media marketing and political consulting, she serves as 95.3 JM's radio station's vice president and is respected as a public figure. Her positive influence got her elected to the Missouri City Council in 2021, of which she still serves, and her leadership is defined by integrity, responsiveness to residents, and commitment to positive change. Okay, well, hey, good morning, everyone. We're excited to be with you again. This is Michael Brown of Living Xtreme Hospitality, and today's episode is titled The Consequences of When You Don't. And we will delve in the critical aspects of hospitality industry, the profound impact of customer service on business success. Joining us as we explore firsthand insights is Councilwoman Monica Riley, who brings a compelling personal experience to light. Discover how neglecting hospitality can lead to unexpected consequences after both reputation and revenue in the ways that every business owner should heed. I should say affecting both reputation and revenue in ways that every business owner should heed. Now, I just want to start by saying that Monica Riley is not only a friend, a fellow parishioner, but also a businesswoman that we are looking to engage in our restaurant that will be opening up soon, as our using her marketing company to help us expand our reach in the Houston metro area. But I just want to say that the reason why I was so interested in getting Monica Riley on this podcast is because of what I know of her. So we have this, we've been knowing each other probably for about maybe 7 or 8 months, which is relatively short. But in that short period of time, I've noticed that she is very integral. She is honest. She is passionate. She loves people. She's a true servant. She's supportive, and she's professional. She's also caring, and she's also the in-your-face kind of person. So all of those things, I think, make for a great guest on the show, because hospitality is about all of these things, about passion. And she has a wonderful story to tell. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Councilwoman Monica Riley. Welcome to the show, Monica. How are you today?
Hey, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
That's exactly right, because that's what we're going to do. It's a fireside chat. We're just here to kind of lay it all on the line, be transparent, talk about some things that I think we both share in terms of passion and hospitality. And as I said earlier, in those attributes, and there's probably a dozen more I could say about you, that really I think drew us to each other. And I think it's for me, it's great to deal with people like that. And that's why I really wanted to have you on the show. Not to mention the fact that in our casual conversation, you were able to share with me a couple of incidents that happened to you and your family And I thought it was just so apropos, which is why I came up with the name, The Consequences When You Don't. What happens when
Mhm.
you don't embody and live extreme hospitality? It can it can have a ripple effect on your business. And we don't want any restaurant owner to suffer from bad PR, to suffer from negative reviews. We want every restaurateur who works hard for their money
Mhm.
to be able to not only
Yeah.
satisfy the customer, but to make money and to be prosperous and to last. These days we have a lot of chains that are taking over the restaurant industry. But what about your
Mhm.
mom and pops? We want them to survive as well. They're the backbone of this industry. So, Monica,
Oh
if you could
yes.
just share with us a little bit about, a few sentences about, who you are and what brings you to this podcast.
Well, thank you so much. That was a wonderful and very detailed introduction of myself. I started feeling good about myself. But yes, I'm Monica Riley. I serve at the pleasure of being on City Council. I am a true, servant of God. I love the Lord with all my heart. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of 7 daughters, and I've been in the radio industry, the marketing industry. So I do have my own company, the Monica Riley. We do marketing and all sorts of media, and I love what I do. And of course, I'm also the vice president of operations for 95.3 Jams radio station, which is the #1 digital radio station across the region of Texas. And I also have my own radio show that I talk about people, politics, and purpose on Mondays on the radio station. So I'm pretty busy out there doing a lot of stuff. And of course, at the end of the day, I'm a customer. And I love to go out and eat and shop and patronize businesses. And one thing that you mentioned about small mom and pop restaurants, what people don't understand is it's the mom and pop restaurants and small businesses is what makes America, where it is in the economy right now. So mom and pop restaurants and businesses are the lifeline, the heart of the economic, world. So those businesses are really important, and I love patronizing those businesses.
Awesome, awesome. And I've met all 7 of your daughters. I've met your husband,
Yes.
and it's an amazing thing
Bless
to
his heart.
see. You know how what is those birds that walk down? They go in one line. Is it the um
Ducks?
partridge? The partridges. You know how the mother duck and the mother partridge. I think ducks do the same thing. But that's
Yeah,
what I think
ducks.
of when I see your children. I see that you have taught them well. You taught them to the fear and admonition of the Lord. You taught them how to honor God. I mean, one of them was telling me one day, "Oh yeah, these are my tithes," and it's like these are young people that are doing following in the footsteps of their father and their mother, and you guys done a great job with them. And I think one of your daughters
Thank
is
you.
interested in being a chef, right? So yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. You have a great memory, but yes,
yeah,
all of our kids, they just followed the instructions we gave them out the Bible. So it's a hard job to be a parent, but it was definitely well worth the work that we put in over these last 30+ years. Because we got the fruit of our labor, we got the product that we were looking for. And yes, Sine is the one who wants to be a chef. She
hmm
is the second to the youngest.
hmm
Of our kids, and she's always in there practicing, working, creating different meals and appetizers and yummy delights that we can try. So I'm looking forward to her being in the same industry as you, Chef
yeah,
Michael.
absolutely. Well, that brings me to another point. You talked about you and your husband and how you gave them instruction, right? And you taught them in the way, and you see the results. So this is
Hmm.
nothing different than running a business, to be honest with
Yes.
you, because let me just take a big guess. You and your husband, were saved, right? And then
Hmm.
you recognize what the Bible says about raising children, and you laid out certain examples following yourselves to do so. And when I talk about being saved and being a Christian, it's an identity, right? And one of the
Yes.
things that I'm sure you do as a marketer when you're marketing or you're helping a company, identify themselves, the one thing that we'll always know is important is who are you, so that
Mm-hmm.
who you are is what your business will reflect, right? So
Yes.
what
Yes.
what are your core values? What are the things that you're going to pass down to your staff so that they can reflect the company's core values? You have to know who you are and what your why
Mm-hmm.
is. So that's why this Living Extreme Hospitality podcast
Mm-hmm.
is so important, because we want to raise the bar on the restaurant industry. We want every
Mm-hmm.
person that goes out and spends their hard-earned dollars to get exactly what they deserve. So the DNA
Mm-hmm.
of our industry, which going back to years and years ago, was a profession, it was a trade, it was an
Mm-hmm.
art, you know. And I'm looking to eventually write a book about this as well. It is a
Okay.
dying art, right? And so
Uh-huh.
we need to go back to the basics of what we do as an art, right?
Yeah.
Culinary art, service is an art. I've served the Bishop Desmond Tutu, Richard Pryor over in New York. I've served the Prince of the Netherlands,
Oh,
and
wow.
and then I've served the back lady off the street, and they both
Uh-huh.
got the same royal service. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, let's jump into let's jump
We can talk
into
all day long. Now you start talking about
exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I'm not ashamed of that game either, you know. So and Jesus is in everything. So
Yes.
it's why not bring him into our businesses, right? So let's talk about what prompted this title. And that was an
Mm-hmm.
experience that you had
Yes.
in a large restaurant chain out here in the Houston market. And I believe that they're actually national and maybe even international.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to talk to me not as a Councilwoman Monica Riley, um,
As a customer.
as a customer, and then we're going to talk about how they might have done that to the wrong person.
Yes.
So,
And
Monica,
they did.
take it away.
Well, as I said, I'm a big supporter of small businesses, and, you said the key thing is I'm a customer. So forgetting titles and forgetting names and things like that, I'm a customer, I'm a patron. I believe in supporting financially and contributing economically to the restaurant businesses. I love to eat out. And, when my little girl was turning 8 years old in the middle of COVID, we were charged with, okay, where can we eat? As a large family and get the food that we're wanting to get, and she wanted to go to a very famous fast food chicken restaurant chain that we were talking about. And so we went there, and of course, I've never had an issue or anything like that. I've always felt like I got good customer service and good food for the money that I paid. And I spent a lot of money at that location and that franchise because they're very popular. And when you have a lot of kids, it's a kid friendly place. And so I took her and the whole family through the drive through to order our food, and it was just something different about that particular day. And the employees and the staff members that they had, they weren't friendly that particular day. And when we went through the drive-through, of course, obviously I had a very large order. We spent right at about $80-$85 in the drive-through for just, a regular um combos. And so when we were receiving our food, they had asked us to pull off, even though there were cars receiving their food, after we were already there. But when we did finally get the waitress that brought us our food to our car, she just kind of tossed it into my truck, and the bag flipped over and the food fell out into my lap, and it was hot. obviously, and it kind of burned through my pants. And I, very firmly asked the young lady, why did you just toss that in there? She just kind of threw her hands up at me, refused to, correct or acknowledge that she did anything wrong. And as a result, I asked her, well, can you at least, replace my fries that fell on the floor of my truck? And she said no. And so I went to try to communicate with a manager, and of course, no one came because, again, we were in the middle of COVID. So I called on the phone while I was sitting in the truck, and the manager said that I would have to put the whole order back together and bring it to them so that they could see what they needed to replace. So basically, they were asking me to pick up all these French fries out of my lap, off my truck floor, and put it all back in the little box and take it back to them. And I just thought that was ridiculous. And
Mm-hmm.
so I left because they were not going to replace my order and fix things that had fell on the floor. And so when I went home, I called back again and asked them, if I could, get my order, the things that fell on the floor, get those replaced on another day, and told them what my experience was. And
Yeah.
the manager was rude and said,
Mm-hmm.
well, if you want us to do anything, you would have to bring your whole order back to the store, and we'll look into it if we're going to replace what. And I just said that that's just ridiculous. And not to mention the fact I explained to them that the young lady was rude to me, and didn't offer an apology after wasting hot food in my lap and messing up my clothes. So with that whole experience, I couldn't just get a resolution to, I couldn't even get an apology that, sorry, we messed up, of
Mm-hmm.
course we'll replace your $1.79 French fries,
Right.
versus I didn't ask for $80 back. I just wanted my French fries back on my baby's birthday. And so to kind of narrow down everything, I was furious because when my baby was back there crying, her birthday, dinner had been ruined.
Mm-hmm.
I was frustrated and I felt very, disrespected as a customer. And so I do what I'm normally gonna do. I just took to social media and I'm like, okay, well, since I can't even get my order straight and I can't even get an apology or just someone wanted to show good customer service, I took to social media and I posted on my social media my experience, what actually happened. I wrote everything out, texted all, and sent it out on my social media. And of course, a lot of people that, I mean, they know me and they follow me. And I'm not known for posting anything negative or derogatory ever. So obviously, when I posted this, it went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
People were infuriated that I was treated that way. My family was treated that way because we're known to be very loving, kind, caring people, who are always giving back in the community. And so when I posted that, the post went viral, and people from all over were upset. And they were basically, they had posted, "We're never going back to that location ever again. Matter of fact, we're not even going to go eat at any of their restaurants." As well as they had talked about doing a boycott over there. And I said, okay, guys, that's too much. We're not doing boycotts and all that stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. I encourage you not to go eat there anymore. Show them what your buying power is like by not patronizing their business and letting them know why, and tag their location. And so many hundreds and hundreds of people did so. And as a result, an owner from a neighboring restaurant in the same food chain contacted me on my DM, which that would have to be very serious for the owner of another food chain to contact me and DM me and just say, "Hey, would you please take the post down? It's impacting my business, and we're not even the ones who did it, and we're getting calls from various cities that a lot of people are protesting that their restaurants at different locations because of what your situation was." And as I explained to that owner, I will not take it down until the situation is resolved. I expect to have an apology, and all I wanted was my French fries, one little small bag of French fries replaced, and I couldn't even get that. I said, they ruined my baby's birthday party, you know, that we were having with our family. And so that particular owner was really upset because this went on for weeks. So this wasn't like one day and it was over. No, this went on for weeks. People were constantly posting, telling people do not go to that location, do not support any of the other locations. And I read all the posts and I just saw everything. A few people were upset with me that know me. They said, we can't believe you would post something derogatory like that. They're such a good company. And I had to explain to them, I stand my ground on this, because if they are a good company, then they will want to resolve this with me and make things right. And I said, and since they do not, this is the consequences of their actions. So you know, and I didn't take the post down. So what ultimately wound up happening, the other owner who originally reached out to me and said, we would like to make this right. It wasn't us, we didn't do it, but we are contacting the owner of that particular store to address it with them. And in the meantime, we want to make this right, because you have just set a precedence and you're affecting our business across the area. And so that particular owner invited me and my daughter and our family to come to their location. And I don't know what they were doing. I didn't ask them to do anything. But when we did arrive, they gave us a very warm welcome. Everybody, all the team members were clapping for my daughter, Shyla. And wishing her happy birthday, and trying to make a, you know, create a better memory for her. They all signed this beautiful letter just saying happy birthday, Shyla. And the whole restaurant, the whole team of restaurant members all signed it, did a beautiful gift basket with all of their memorabilia. And you know, and of course, you know, they fed her, gave her some you know, food from the restaurant. And she was happy, and it was a great memory to close out her bad memory. But for many months, I want to say with many months, almost probably close to a year and a half, I did not patronize that restaurant, nor did I encourage others to support that when I told them to go to the other restaurant versus that when I had a bad experience. And some people still don't go to that restaurant as a result of it, and their sales did go down and were impacted drastically over a couple of weeks when I put that post out. And the restaurants have to understand there's consequences to bad service. And when someone works at your establishment, guess what? They are part of your branding. And it's the same thing when you mentioned about my kids, and I said the instructions of how we raised them. Well, guess what? That's branding. And everything is marketing is branding. So my kids are my branding. I'm the branding of Jesus Christ. And that restaurant, their team members, that's their branding. So when the team members mess up, guess what? You suffer the consequences of your team members.
You know, thank you for sharing that, Monica Riley. I'm so sorry that happened to you, but I'm so happy that you actually took action. For
Yes.
those who were negative about the action that you took, that's complicitness that we don't need. We need everybody to hold them accountable for what they do. Now, here's the thing. A set of fries, that's all you had to do. Apology, that's all you had to do.
Yep.
The and so that's I believe that's an indication of something deeper wrong with the company, because John C. Maxwell, you always hear me say this. He says everything rises and falls with leadership.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
yeah, that young lady, whoever it was, you know, she had some idea that not only is it okay to drop the flies in your lap, but it's okay to tell you, hey, you know what? It's your problem, not mine. And then
Yeah.
the manager had the gall to not address the situation, I love it when the Bible talks about the little foxes spoil the vine, right? My old pastor used to say, I like to kill dragons when they're little because when they grow up, they breathe fire.
Yes.
So you got to deal with that stuff early, even as a parent, right? You dealt with the
Yes.
issues. So there's something that was wrong with that organization, that particular unit, that
Mm-hmm.
unless you didn't do what you did, they
Mm-hmm.
could not have made their corrections necessary. And
Yes.
hopefully the parent companies also understood this and they did some type of, training that helped this not to happen to anyone. So yes,
Yes.
we stand strong for great customer service,
Oh, yes.
above hospitality. I always say, uh, how do I say, under promise but over deliver, right? That
Yes.
is what we are here to do. I remember in my first restaurant back in Jersey, I had four standing ovations from the guests. Like after I cooked and I went out to meet the people in the dining room,
Uh-huh.
four times they actually stood up and applauded. Entire people that don't even know each other, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
but but as soon as I walked back and my chef's hat had to fit through the door to go back into the kitchen, because guess what? Tomorrow I've got to do it all over again. And
Uh-huh.
and I can't just like settle on what I did yesterday. Today I have to up my game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have these opportunities to do that. I call it emotional intelligence. Like
Mm-hmm.
this person that dealt with you needed some emotional intelligence training. Now, you didn't come in nasty. Here's where emotional intelligence uh, really starts to, you can see it really operate. When you're dealing with an irate customer or you're dealing with a
Mm-hmm.
difficult customer, you know, now you can take that emotional intelligence and turn that situation around.
Mm-hmm.
But she had the opportunity to turn it around because of her wrongdoing and chose not to. So
Yes.
this is why we're entitling this the consequences of when you
When
don't.
you don't.
The consequences you don't, because you'll run into a Monica Riley and you didn't know it, right? And really, you shouldn't know it. Everybody should be a Monica Riley to you. Everybody has the
You should treat it like
opportunity,
like it
and
is
like it
because
is.
you don't
Everybody,
know.
yeah, everybody has the opportunity to voice, and so I just really wanted to ask a couple questions about that. Did the original location ever reach out to you?
No,
Okay,
no,
so they did
they
not.
never did. No.
And you
But you want to hear
mentioned,
the funny thing is, once I became the councilwoman, when I walked through the doors, because we do events there and things like that, they are overly nice to me now, and for me, that my title shouldn't change how you interact with the customer. Because when I walk through the doors, I'm not walking in there as, a representative of the city. I'm walking in there as a customer coming to patronize because I live in that particular city. So they never did reach out, which was very disappointing. But as part of the agreement that I agreed to with the other owner of another location because it was impacting others, then that was fair enough for me to take the post down. And just me as a customer, I just won't patronize them,
mm,
for my own personal reasons. But
yeah,
at the same token, I'm not one that holds a grudge.
hmm
Um, Biblically, that's out of line. So I'm
hmm
not going to just harbor on this issue. It was resolved in the best way it could have been under the circumstances.
hmm
And for that, I'm pleased. Now, granted, do I drive out of my way to go to the other location? Oh, yes.
hmm And I heard that the other location is one of the busiest ones in Texas.
Yes,
It
it
is like,
is. It is
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
busiest ones.
I'm
Yes.
actually my mentor Russell Ybarra, the owner of Gringos, is going to make a connection with me and that particular owner as well as
Hmm.
because for me it's important to have mentors and people who have
Yes.
gone before me and
And he's a
have done it
great
well.
mentor,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
great person.
yeah.
And interesting enough, after that whole situation, he was a little upset with me, but
hmm
he, ultimately he understood the situation, and we wound up becoming really, really good,
hmm
friends after that. And we worked on several things together, which showed his Christian integrity as well, that he didn't hold anything against me, nor did I hold anything against that other location.
Cool. So I might have to have you introduce us
Yes,
because I haven't had a chance to reach
absolutely.
out to him. But okay, so and part two, I understand that I'm not going to call you a magnet, but I understand that something similar happened in another big chain in a very
Yes.
different outcome, but similar outcome, but different way they dealt with it. Tell us about that one, Monica.
That one was very extreme because that was dealing with a sense of discrimination, a blatant, well, I'll just say a blatant discrimination. And another major Southern hospitality dine-in restaurant. They don't have they're not like nationwide or anything like that. They're more local in the Southern states, and they're family owned. And so again, on my birthday this time, something about birthdays. Birthdays and restaurants don't mix in this family very well. But I was going out for my birthday. And I love fine dining, but when it's with my family, most of the time I just really want to just be laid back. And so we attended a local restaurant, get some home cooking. I had my father with me, and he's a veteran and a senior citizen. So he loves to go and be like, tell people he's a veteran so you can get a little discount and stuff, even though I'm the one paying. Uh, but we went, and we were the only African American family that was in the restaurant, and so we went to get a seat, and we sat ourselves because there weren't any servers around, and so we just kind of sat ourselves in an area where we saw that there was a server, and and you know that person, she kept walking past us multiple times and didn't say hello. And a couple times I had to stop her and say, well, hi, can we get some menus? Can you take our drink orders? And she just seemed to be a little standoffish initially. Now, what I did notice, after we had been sitting there 20 minutes with no service, and I said, well, maybe this is an area that she's not the server for this area. And like I said, 20 minutes later, several non-African American patrons walked through the door, and she actually greeted them and sat them in the same area that we were sitting in, immediately brought them menus. When the next group came in, and we're talking about like maybe a party of two, a party of three. Now, granted, we're a party of 8, so this is a very big ticket, bill that we're going to have. And so I noticed she did that with 3 different times with the patrons and sat them in our area, gave them menus, came back to take their drink orders. Now, remember, after 20 minutes, we still don't have we don't even have water. Okay. We don't even have silverware, much less menus. And so I went up to the young lady and I asked her, I said, we were here first, and you have yet to come over and take our order or even get our drinks or even provide us with menus. She was very nasty in her response. Well, I'll get to you when I can. I'm helping these customers. And so I went and sat back down. And so I waved down another server and I said, could you assist us? We need a server. She said, well, that's your server right there. I said, well, she's not helping us. And I said, can we at least get some menus and some, water or some drinks? And so the other young lady, she helped. And she said, but ma'am, I'm not your server. So I got to go back to my section. And after that, another group of people came in. This was maybe a group of maybe 4 or 5 African Americans. And she did not greet them, didn't seat them. So they wound up sitting at a table right next to us. So now you have 2 large parties on one side, both African American. On the opposite side, maybe 8 feet away, is all of non-African American patrons. And she's catering to them. She did the same thing to the African Americans that she did to us. She totally ignored them and was not catering to them whatsoever. So finally, when she went over to take this other group that it was two gentlemen who were sitting at the table, she went over there to take their order. And at that point, I was upset. And I went over to her and I said, excuse me. And I told the two gentlemen, I said, I'm sorry to interrupt. I said, but we have been here for almost 30 minutes and we have not been waited on. You have it. I said, I'm not being disrespectful to you guys. I'm addressing her. And I addressed her and I said, you have not given us menus. You haven't given us drinks. You haven't taken our order. You have totally ignored us and you have been rude the times that I've actually come over here. And she said, well, I'm helping them right now, so I'll get to you when I can. I said, okay. And she proceeded on. And then she was smiling and very jovial with all the non-African American customers. And so I said, okay. I said, I see what's going on here. I got, a manager, asked me to a manager, and it wasn't a manager on duty. There was more like a staff team leader or something. I told them the situation and they said, well, I apologize. You weren't helped. We're short staffed. And I said, that's not acceptable. I said, because this young lady is overseeing this whole area and we were here first. Our tab is going to be much larger than any of these over here. And I said, and it's disrespectful that she's done this. And I said, honestly, I feel like I'm being discriminated against. I said, today is my birthday. I said, I have my father who is a veteran who has served this country and I'm here to celebrate him as well. And I said, and yet we can't even get a glass of water. And so she said, well, let me try to see if I can find someone else to help you. No one else ever came. And so I just said, and I told the young lady, as I was leaving, I went up to her and I said, you are horrible. I said, what you did here is just totally despicable. And I said, you're going to hear from me. Okay. This is not it. I said, I am the Vice President of Operations of 95.3 Jams radio station. I said, and we will be discussing this on my show. And everybody is going to know about this restaurant and you personally when I'm done. I said, because all I wanted to be is treated fairly like you did all these other patrons. And I had to address her in front of the other customers. And I said, and this is disrespectful. And so I went back to my table. I said, y'all, let's go. The two gentlemen who she was helping at the time, when they heard me addressing her, they got up and they said, we don't want to eat here. If that's how you're treating other people, we don't want to be served here. And they got up and they walked out. And this is who she was catering to. And so they left, we left. The non-African American, the non-African Americans who she was jovial with and just catering to them, getting their order and everything. And when I had to address that and I went back to tell her, what you did was horrible and is disrespectful and you did this on her. And I said, you discriminated against us. And so when I addressed that, at that time, the second time, she was over there joking and talking, with the two gentlemen who were not African Americans. And I said, we're leaving. And so when I walked back to my table to get my kids, get my dad, those two gentlemen, they said, we're not eating here. If you did that to them, we're not eating here. And they got up and they walked out. And so they took a stance against it because they realized, they saw that what I had said was actually taking place. They saw the discrimination because they looked over and they were like, and they had to be thinking in their minds, she never did go and check on that lady when she came over here the first time. And so we left, and this was a Saturday. And so that following Monday when my show was, I talked about this incident on my show. And I talked about how people discriminate against you, and you have no idea who you're dealing with and who you're interacting with. And as a result, I mean, of course, the ratings were extremely high that day. I also go Facebook Live and Instagram Live, so it was going, just wild as well. And of course, we mentioned the actual restaurant name and the location on there. And I told people I won't be going back there ever again in my life. And I said, if you look the same color as me, you may get the same treatment, because I talked about the other family that was there. They ultimately, when we got in our car, we saw them walking out of the restaurant when we had gotten into our cars. And so when I spoke about this, a lot of people took a stance. They talked about protest again, and they talked about some of their own personal experiences of racism and discrimination at that location. And what was the key factor is a gentleman who follows and listens to my show out in Louisiana heard the show and immediately became livid.
I want to take this moment because we want to re-engage again with this line that we're on. So we're going to come back in about a minute or two, guys. Thank you so much, Monica. We'll be right back.
Okay, perfect.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Living Xtreme Hospitality, the consequences of not doing that. With Monica Riley, Councilwoman Monica Riley here, we're talking, and she's done a finish up her second negative experience in a restaurant. Again, guys, we just want you to understand how important it is to treat everybody the same and to treat everybody well. And this is some things, some of these things can bring your restaurant down to a point where you cannot recover. A lot of times we see people say, that's a great restaurant. I wonder why they went out of business. Part of it typically has to do with customer service. There's all other kind of things that can come into play. So if you're going to put your heart and money into building a restaurant concept, make sure that you're treating your people well. And that includes your employees. So Monica, we're back to, you were telling us about somebody from Louisiana who got wind of your your wonderful radio station content, and tell us what happened from there, please.
Well, the gentleman reached out from Louisiana, and he was livid because he didn't know me personally, but he just, felt compelled to reach out to me. And so as a result, he picked up my story, and he sent a very formal letter to the owners of that particular restaurant company and addressed them in writing about the incident that took place, let them know who I was, and that well respected in the community, the work that I do. He was offended, and he felt that it was just an atrocity that this took place, and couldn't imagine how many other people this has happened to. He requested that the young lady be fired and terminated immediately. He requested that I receive a public apology from the restaurant, and that I also would require professional development training for the entire staff and cultural sensitivity training as well. The owners responded almost immediately. He put me on a conference call with the owners, and remind you, I had technically not met this man in person. And so he was just, associate that I had interactions with over my show. And so once we had that conversation, the owners wanted to know what actually happened. And I took her step by step, what took place, what happened, and everything. And she was very apologetic over the phone. She said that she was going to do an internal investigation. She was look into it, and she would follow back up, within the same week. On the same day, she actually wound up calling him back, and he put me back on the conference call. She immediately went and reviewed the video footage of the restaurant, because apparently where we were sitting at, there were cameras sitting right there on us. So you also got to be careful what you're doing and where you're doing it, because you don't know who's watching. But she reviewed the video footage of the incident, and she reported back that the incident happened exactly as I reported it. And that they immediately terminated the young woman immediately, and told, actually she wasn't even at work. They called her at home and told her, don't come back ever. And don't use him as a reference. So she was terminated immediately. She also issued a memorandum to her staff and her management team to set up a date for professional development, training, as well as cultural sensitivity and how to interact with customers and have better customer service. And so, and immediately that same day, she also posted she texted me personally an apology and the results of what took place, what they were going to do. And then she posted on social media on the actual restaurant's page and the public apology to myself. And so, and then of course she went further to say that she wanted to do something for me and my family to come back and eat. And I respectfully declined. I said I would not be patronizing her restaurant, probably ever. And I still haven't. And that's been a couple of two or 3 years now. And I still have not eaten at the restaurant. And so, but she said she completely understood that. And what she would like to do is she provided some gift cards for me to give out to veterans in the community. And so I did, and I handed those out. And I didn't tell the veterans or anyone what the behind the scenes for receiving those. I just said it was compliments of this particular restaurant, and it was a gift from them to you on my behalf. And so as a result, many people did not go back to the restaurant and patronize the business, nor have I, and it's been a couple of years. And so as a result of poor customer service, discrimination, and just a lack of, unconcerned and poor humanity behavior, that restaurant, was impacted. And that post still sits up to this day. And of course, the recordings, my radio show, all of that still sits out there for people to view. So it's important for people to realize you don't know who you have in your restaurant. You don't know who you have in your presence and who you're catering to. And that's why it's important to have real, good human interaction and good customer service, because you can have a great concept, you can have a great, great food, you can have a great location, you can have all of those things in place. But if you have poor customer service and bad customers have bad experiences and they share that, it can be damaging, if not a downfall to your restaurant and to your business that you've invested in.
Well, thank you, Monica Riley. I'm sorry that you had to go through those terrible experiences on special days for your family. No one should have to go through that. And what I want to do is to kind of summarize what extreme hospitality would look like in these situations. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's start with the first situation with the chicken chain. The first situation, it would have looked like, oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry that I dropped your fries. And this is before the fries even hit the ground. Let me go and replace them for you. Okay.
There, yes.
That's response number one, because mistakes are going to happen.
Yes. Right? Yes.
And secondly, how, nonverbal communications sometimes are stronger than verbal communications. So if that young lady was walking to you with a scowl on her face, or with looking anxious or something like that because they're so busy and she doesn't know how to handle that, that is one thing that I would train towards, and it's how to handle the pressure and how to present yourself. So, the smile is very important. The body
Mm-hmm.
language is very important. Um, so these are some things that could have been help to avoid all of this situation. Then we have the manager
Yes.
that was non-responsive, and the manager
Mm-hmm.
he should be spanked for what he did because he should know better, and yet or he or she should know better, but yet they did not deal with the crisis situation at the time and do it properly. Um, you talked about in the second
Mm-hmm.
scenario where the person said, "That's your server over there." Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my, I would train my staff to consider the entire room as my responsibility, not to pass the buck, and to say,
Yes.
I'll get you started. I'll take it. What can I get you right away just to get you through the process, get you to the point where your
Mm-hmm.
server can take care of you. All things that you could do and train to and avoid these larger catastrophe situations. I also
Yes.
I also teach staff that there are no excuses. And I had a situation where another big chain, a burrito chain, I came back with some tough meat, and I showed him the meat, and he said, "Well, it's not our fault; it's the purveyor's fault," you know.
Oh, wow.
And passing the buck is not acceptable.
No.
And the other thing that we're training towards in Jamboritos as well is empowering our employees, even at like the line employee level, to
Mm-hmm.
make managerial decisions. So in other
Mm-hmm.
words, I'm going to give you like two or three coupons to say I'm going to buy this customer their meal today because of their loyalty towards us, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to get a manager to correct the problem. I will. There's a chain out there that does it very well. It's a coffee chain, and my wife is the most finickiest talk coffee drinker you could ever imagine. There has been
Uh,
times when her coffee has been remade 4 times, 4 times. And let me tell you something. They do it all the time without getting a manager, with a smile on their face, and they make it right. And even when we were in Mexico, the same chain had the same attitude towards
oh,
customers.
wow.
So I'm just saying, let's see what else
The
I wrote
patient
down
I gave up after the second or third time.
here. Well, let's just say there is a special anointing for being in this business. You have to have it. The thing about who's watching, you mentioned, who's watching. It's like a stage play. All eyes are on you, no matter whether
Mm-hmm.
you are the lead singer or the lead dancer or
Mm-hmm.
the backup dancer. It's all a matter of vision. It's all a presentation. And if you're over here talking up about where you partied last night, and this other person over here is doing the right thing, the total picture doesn't look right. And
Uh-huh.
so we have to train to that. I remember people used to say to me, "Man, when you're cooking, you look like you're really having a good time." Now I
Mm-hmm.
could be in pain, I could be tired, it could be the 12th hour, but it's I kind of always know somebody's watching. Somebody's
Yes.
watching, and they deserve to see a show, That's one of the things we're going to bring out in our restaurant. It's going to be like, I'm going to hire actors and actresses and stuff so we can be really extroverts. Um, I wrote down POS reviews. So, you know, in order to have, in order to not get into a damage control situation, you have to have systems in place.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, nowadays, when you have a POS system and the person pays, there's a opportunity to leave a review right at that register. POS stands for
Mm-hmm.
point of sale. So
Mm-hmm.
if there's something negative comes in and I'm manager, I can catch you before you walk out the door. I can
Correct.
make sure that I correct it before you walk out the door. The other thing I highly recommend and I'm going to also implement is if you ever been to the airport and you go to the bathroom and then when you walk out there's like a smiley face and a sad face. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-hmm.
And they just hit and that tells them they have to come clean the bathroom or something like that. I want to put some of those at our exit doors so that, if you hit the sad face, it triggers me, it beeps me, whatever, texts me, and I know catch them before they get to the car, Um, I mean, these are systems that you want to put in place. And then, before you even get your restaurant open, get the right people on the bus.
Yes.
Hire for character, not experience. Hire for character.
Correct.
You can train experience, but you can't train character. If they're 16 years old and above, their character is set in stone. You know what I mean?
Yes. And you need a little, you need a little bit of both in some cases, because you do need people that have experience. And everybody's not a people person. Yeah. That's in customer service. Everybody, and that's okay. It's perfectly okay. But you do have to have people that are approachable and able to engage with people in the customer service industry.
Right.
And because everything is branding, and I spoke about that earlier, and I'll say it again. It's branding. Yes. Because when you're not this major food chain restaurant, everybody knows what your food is, and they know what the price point is and how long it's going to take to get that. When you are a new brand or a new concept, or a mom and pop type restaurant, your customer service is really critical for you, because there's no precedence that's been set for your restaurant for people to know what the expectation is. So out the door, your people have to understand that they are a part of a team. Yes. And every player has a role to play, whether it's the person who opens the door and greets the people, the person who's at the food prep station and saying, "Hi, how can I help you?" Or it's the person, placing the order at the cashier and saying, "What can I get you today? Would you like, beans with that? Or which type of beans would you like? Black beans, chotto, pinto." It's everybody has a role to play, and the people in the kitchen, they have their role. Their role is to provide quality prepared food that not only tastes good but looks good. Yes. That people want to take pictures of and post on their Insta, their tweet about it, and Facebook and all of that. So one thing that I like to share, and I use this in my own experience with my staff members, as well as when I was raising my kids, is you have to have good people skills. Yeah. And how you want to be treated is how you treat other people. Whatever expectations you have for yourself, then make sure that you're doing that towards others as well. Right. And be personable. Be a person that can, you may not be this big smiley type person and things like that, like we talked about earlier, we opposites attract. My husband never smiles, and I'm smiling all day long and stuff, but he's approachable. So you may not be this super happy-go-lucky type person, but at least have good communication skills, have a little bit of energy behind, what your skill set is, what your characteristics are, and play on those strengths of your characteristics. Because at the end of the day, customer service, you should have that as part of orientation. Yeah. Like one of the name brand, big places, grocery store chains that everybody loves here in Texas, and the different food places. One thing that you always see with them, with their staff members, is how they interact with people. And that's a part of their training when they're going through their training process and their orientation, their onboarding, is how do you talk to people? How do you handle a situation that gets difficult? How do you maintain self-control if a customer gets upset? What is the chain of command? Who do I go to if I need assistance or if I mess up? What should I say? There's your orientation is going to be critical for any restaurant, because you've got to help those people that you're hiring to understand, if you lose us a customer, that one customer, we may lose 10 customers, not just one, but 10. And those 10 may tell another 10. So it's not just that one order and that one customer. You have to think outside of your one approach. You have to remember that these people are going to tell other people about their experience, whether it's good or bad. And if we don't have the business that's coming into this restaurant supplying our operational expenses and helping us pay the bills, we can't hire staff. We can't pay you a raise. We can't give you a bonus. We can't give you free food as a benefit or an incentive. We can't give you the extra hours. We can't pay overtime. You can't get paid extra for holidays. People have to understand that the work that they're committing to, it has a greater brand and a greater, thing that's attached to that one person. I tell people all the time, Chef Michael, is I am a representative of Jesus Christ. When I go out there in the streets, when I come home, when I'm at work, when I'm at city council, or if I'm at Fort Bend County, something on one of the boards, or with my business or whatever, I am a representative of whatever that is. But the biggest thing for me, I'm a representative of Jesus Christ. So everywhere I go, I have to remember who I'm representing, even in difficult situations, right, even in those. And so people, your workers, your cashiers, your food prep, your janitorial staff members, your cooks, your chefs, your food station, your drink station, your drive-through, whatever, people have to understand they are representing that entity. And if they misrepresent that entity, they have fallen short of making sure that entity in that restaurant is going to be successful. Because if you run into a Monica Riley and it goes bad, and it will go bad really quickly, social media is very good, but it's also very damaging.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to wrap this up, and we just want to hear a little bit more about you and your radio station. I just wanted to also go back a little bit to the concept of hiring for character. Now, if you have an experienced person with good character, that's number one. You definitely want that person on board, because you don't want the blind leading the blind. But that's where we come in with our training manuals. These days, the attention rate of most employees is a lot less than it was, say, 40, 30 years ago. When we used to come to work, and we had we thought about work before we got to work, and then when we got to work, we were ready to go. But there's so many more things vying for our attention that we come to work, and that's why we have to keep it simple, stupid for people. Not that the people are stupid, but one of these chains, I know there's a chain out there that's a coffee shop, and there's a buzzer for when you change the milk. There's a buzzer for when you change the beans. There's a buzzer for this. There's a buzzer for that. People are looking to see things in its proper place and know, when should I do this and when should I do that. The thinking has been taken out of the actual production process, but the thinking should never be taken out of the act of interacting with people and providing great customer service. That's going to require emotional intelligence. But the time has been well spent. I'm so appreciative of you and how you shared from your heart, and you've given us a lot to think about. I just wanted to take 1 minute before we wrap up, and just tell us about your radio station, how people can tune in, where they can tune in, and then just blow us a big kiss goodbye, and we'll say thank you. God bless.
Well, I want to first of all just say thank you so much, Michael, for inviting me to be a part of your podcast today. I've really enjoyed. It's more like a dialogue and a conversation than like an interview. So I appreciate you so very much. But people can, reach out to me via my radio station. I'm the Vice President of Operations. And I also have my own radio show there. It's called Mount Move Monica Radio Talk Show, where we talk about people, politics, and purpose every single Monday, Central Standard Time, 12 to 2. 95.3 Jams, KPJZ, 95.3 Jams radio station. We're the #1 digital radio station in the Houston region and metropolitan area. They can view us, listen to our radio station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by using the TuneIn app, the Waze app, the Online Radio Box app, or the Zeno app. So any one of those apps you can download and you can listen to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I just really appreciate you guys. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to follow me on my social media, the THE Monica Riley, or just Monica Riley. I have like several platforms, but connect with me. And we love to hear from our viewers and our listeners. And so that's on Facebook and Instagram. It's the Monica Riley on Instagram. And so thanks again, everybody. I appreciate you guys listening to me today and being a part of the show today.
Yes, and Monica is also a marketing guru, and she knows everybody in Texas. So if you need a marketing firm,
and Louisiana.
And Louisiana. You need
Apparently.
a marketing guru fan to be on your. We're hiring her for sure because we just know that that with her we can get plugged in, and not only that, she just really is a good person. She's a personable person. Some people, they have a lot of gifts and talents, but they're just not down to earth. Monica is down to earth, and I could tell you, I could keep going on about her, but I'm not going to. But I want to say, God bless everyone, and I hope pray for your businesses to do well. And those of you who just continue thinking about getting into the business, hopefully some of the things that we've discussed here can give you some insights as to how you can be successful at it. So God bless you.
Yes.
Take care. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today. It's a wrap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Living Xtreme Hospitality. Taste the difference.